Few names in wrestling shine brighter than Ric Flair. For more than 5 decades, the Nature Boy has been the very definition of charisma, resilience, and spectacle. Born Richard Morgan Flyer in 1949, he overcame a complicated adoption story and found his way into wrestling, a career that would span nearly every major promotion in North America. From his robe-covered strut to his iconic "woo" catchphrase, Flair became not only a champion, but a cultural icon, celebrated far beyond the squared circle. Yet even as the years piled up, Flair's love for wrestling never dimmed. In July 2022, at 73, he stepped into what was billed as his final match. Teamed with Andrade El Idolo, his son-in-law, Flair faced Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal in an event simply titled Ric Flair's Last Match. The night was emotional, chaotic, and pure Flair, full of drama, excitement, and, as it turned out, danger. During the match, Flair sold the crowd on a heart attack scare as part of the storyline. Fans gasped, only to later learn the truth was stranger than fiction. Flair had actually suffered a mild heart attack in the ring, something he wouldn't fully realize until his doctors revealed it during a later checkup. In typical Flair fashion, he powered through, finished the bout, and celebrated as if nothing had happened, proving once more why he's regarded as one of the toughest performers the business has ever seen. The heart of the matter. Flair's revelation about his 2022 match came during a candid conversation on the Jackson podcast with Quinton Rampage Jackson and Bear DeGidio. For years, Flair had chalked up his mid-match collapses to dehydration. He explained that he even passed out 3 times that day, but kept going, convinced it was exhaustion. But in 2023, during a routine heart check, his doctor showed him scans that told a different story. Part of his heart had been permanently damaged. The conclusion was shocking, even to someone who had endured countless injuries over his career. Flair had indeed suffered a heart attack without ever feeling the pain most people associate with it. His ability to push through that night in Nashville spoke to his toughness, but it also served as a reminder of the toll decades of high-impact matches, heavy travel, and hard living had taken on his body. Still, Flair recounted the ordeal with trademark humor and bravado, reminding listeners that he had celebrated after the match with Kid Rock, The Undertaker, and plenty of Gatorade. For Flair, even medical crises seemed to be another story to tell, another chapter in a career that refuses to fade away. Survival and setbacks. To truly understand Ric Flair's resilience, you have to look at the times when life nearly brought him to a halt. In 2017, wrestling fans around the world feared the worst when Flair was rushed to the hospital and placed in intensive care with life-threatening complications. He underwent surgery, was put on dialysis, and endured kidney failure alongside multiple heart-related issues that required the installation of a pacemaker. For weeks, his family prepared for the possibility of losing him, as doctors reportedly gave him only a slim chance of survival. Against all odds, Flair pulled through. The man who had survived plane crashes, brutal matches, and decades of a rock star lifestyle once again showed that he was tougher than circumstance. His doctors later diagnosed him with alcoholic cardiomyopathy, a condition that weakens the heart, but Flair refused to let it define him. Where most would have slowed down, Ric simply kept moving. He embraced the scare not as a limitation, but as another mountain to climb, returning to public appearances, strutting with confidence, joking about his near-death experience, and refusing to even consider the word retirement. For fans, his return was nothing short of miraculous. For Flair, it was simply a continuation of what he had always been, the Nature Boy, still styling and profiling against the odds, a reminder that even when life corners you, you can fight your way back into the spotlight. A career of firsts, Flair's career is filled with milestones that remain unmatched in wrestling history. WWE officially recognizes him as a 16-time world champion, though if you ask wrestling historians, or Flair himself, the number can be as high as 21 or even 25, depending on which promotions and disputed reigns you count. Titles, though, tell only part of the story. Flair was the face of Jim Crockett Promotions during the 1980s, the backbone of WCW through the 1990s, and a main event player for WWE in the 2000s. His 1992 Royal Rumble victory, where he outlasted 29 men to capture the WWF Championship, is still considered one of the greatest performances in the history of the event. He became the first man to be inducted twice into the WWE Hall of Fame, once as a singles performer and again as part of the legendary Four Horsemen faction. Flair headlined Starrcade 10 times, was the star attraction at WrestleMania, and crossed over into virtually every major promotion of his era. Yet what set Flair apart wasn't just the belts around his waist, but the way he carried himself as both a rule-breaking villain and a fan-favorite icon. He made audiences love him and hate him in equal measure, selling out arenas across the globe with his larger-than-life personality. Even decades later, his stories and his voice, equal parts arrogance and charm, continue to captivate fans on podcasts, documentaries, and live appearances. Flair's career is proof that greatness is not just about winning, but about creating moments people never forget. Pop culture's woo. Ric Flair's impact reached far beyond the wrestling ring, spilling into sports, music, and pop culture. His famous woo, borrowed from Jerry Lee Lewis but made entirely his own, has become one of the most recognizable chants in the world. Today, it echoes not just in wrestling arenas, but in basketball stadiums, football games, and concert halls. Athletes from LeBron James to the Carolina Panthers have used Flair's swagger to hype up crowds, often mimicking his trademark strut before big games. Rappers like Killer Mike, Pusha T, and Offset have paid tribute in lyrics, with Ric Flair Drip becoming a platinum hit and cementing Flair as a figure admired far outside the wrestling bubble. His robes, sequined, feathered, and extravagant, have been displayed in museums, turning the Nature Boy into a fashion and cultural icon as much as a wrestler. Flair's confidence, bravado, and unapologetic style inspired generations not just to cheer, but to emulate. That crossover appeal explains why new fans discover him every year, whether through TikTok clips of his promos or sports celebrations punctuated with a loud "woo." Ric Flair is not just a wrestler. He is a living brand, a symbol of excess, resilience, and pure entertainment that transcends time. Personal highs and lows. For all the glitz and glory, Ric Flair's personal life has often mirrored the chaos of his career. Married 5 times, he raised 4 children, including Ashley, better known to fans as Charlotte Flair, who has become one of WWE's greatest champions, carrying her father's legacy with pride. But along with joy came heartbreak. In 2013, Flair lost his son Reed, a young wrestler with enormous promise, to an untimely passing. The loss devastated him, and he has spoken candidly about how it nearly broke him. Add to that years of financial troubles, legal battles, and the natural wear and tear of decades in the spotlight, and you see a man who lived as hard outside the ring as he did inside it. Yet, true to form, Ric always found ways to rebound. In recent years, he has leaned more into connecting with fans, whether through podcasts, autograph signings, or candid interviews where he speaks openly about both triumphs and mistakes. At 76, he may walk a little slower, but the charisma is undimmed. He can still command attention with one word, Woo! And remind the world that Ric Flair will never truly retire. His highs and lows have only deepened his legend, painting him not as a perfect man, but as an enduring one, still standing tall after every storm. Brooke Hogan, Music and Independence. Shifting from Flair's journey to another wrestling family, Brooke Hogan's life shows how children of legends navigate their own identities. For Brooke, daughter of Hulk Hogan, fame arrived not through the wrestling ring but through reality TV. In the mid-2000s, Hogan Knows Best made the Hogan household a household name. That spotlight launched Brooke's music career with her 2006 debut album Undiscovered cracking the Billboard charts. Her single, About Us, featuring rapper Paul Wall, even made it onto the Hot 100, proving she had the talent to carve her own path. She toured with Hilary Duff and the Backstreet Boys, earning credibility in pop circles, and in 2008 headlined her own spin-off, Brooke Knows Best. The series chronicled her move to Miami, where she worked to build independence while balancing her father's protective influence. But years later, Brooke admitted the cameras had come at a cost. She felt she had lost much of her youth to filming, with every success and every mistake broadcast to millions. As time passed, she chose to reinvent herself. Stepping away from music, she found purpose in business, launching an interior design company in Nashville that flourished in the booming rental market. In 2022, she quietly married former NHL player Steven Oleksy, and by January 2025, the couple welcomed twins, Oliver and Molly. Today, Brooke is not chasing stardom, but building a grounded life as a mother and entrepreneur. Proof that reinvention can bring peace, where fame once brought pressure. Nick Hogan. Thrill and consequence. Nick Hogan's path was different, marked by thrill-seeking and consequences that reshaped his life. On Hogan Knows Best, Nick was portrayed as the carefree prankster, full of energy and humor. Away from the cameras, though, his true passion was cars and racing. By 16, he had already earned a Formula D license, making him one of the youngest professional drifters in America. But the adrenaline rush came with risks. In 2007, at just 17, Nick was behind the wheel in a car accident in Clearwater, Florida, that left his passenger and close friend, John Graziano, with permanent injuries. Nick escaped with minor harm, but the crash changed his life forever. Legal consequences followed, and he served several months in jail. The once carefree reality TV teen suddenly found himself at the center of a national controversy. In the years since, Nick has worked to rebuild his life. Turning to music, he studied production in Los Angeles and eventually carved out a career as a DJ, finding both therapy and purpose in creativity. In 2025, he married social media personality Tana Leah, crediting her for bringing stability into his life. Though the past still lingers, Nick continues striving for redemption, balancing lessons learned with the hope of building a better future. His story is a reminder of how quickly youthful choices can carry lifelong consequences, but also how resilience can create second chances. Family fallout and reconciliation. The Hogan family, once America's favorite wrestling dynasty, has endured as much pain as it has fame. The 2007 crash marked the beginning of a downward spiral. Within 2 years, Hulk and Linda Hogan divorced, and the family's once golden image fractured under the weight of lawsuits, headlines, and personal drama. Brooke struggled to regain her music momentum. Nick worked to find new purpose, and their parents' conflicts often played out publicly. In recent years, the fractures grew deeper when Brooke revealed she had been estranged from her mother for nearly a decade, leading to bitter public exchanges. Nick stayed largely neutral, trying to keep ties with both sides. Then, in July 2025, tragedy struck again. Hulk Hogan passed away at the age of 71. For Brooke, the news came in a painful way, through a message from Nick. But she later shared that her last conversation with her father in 2023 had brought her peace, as she was able to tell him she was grateful for their bond, despite past struggles. For the Hogan siblings, their father's passing was both a closing chapter and a reminder that family ties, however strained, remain powerful. It showed that even when fame fractures relationships, love and reconciliation can still offer moments of closure. Legacy beyond the ring. From Ric Flair's dramatic battles with health to Brooke and Nick Hogan's journeys through fame, loss, and reinvention, these stories remind us that wrestling legacies are about far more than what happens between the ropes. Flair, the eternal nature boy, has turned near-death scares into lessons in toughness and continues to inspire with his charisma. Brooke Hogan has redefined herself beyond reality TV, embracing motherhood and business with grace. Nick Hogan, scarred by mistakes in his youth, continues to seek redemption and stability. Together, they highlight the highs and lows of living under the brightest lights, where opportunity comes hand in hand with scrutiny, and where resilience becomes the true measure of success. Wrestling may script matches, rivalries, and storylines, but the lives of those connected to the business, whether legends like Ric Flair or the children of icons like Brooke and Nick, show us that the real stories are often far more dramatic, heartbreaking, and inspiring than anything seen on television. At the heart of it all is a simple truth. Legacies endure not because of titles or catchphrases, but because of the human spirit behind